Welcome to That's Based. Happy Wednesday. It's the midweek check-in. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground, laughing our way through the end of days, and brought to you by Outlaw Streamers, along with our friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Memorial Day's coming up. What better way to celebrate those who gave it all than with the toast with Blood of Tyrants Wine? If you go to drinkbloodofTyrants.com and use the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout on two types of wine, both red and white, along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink. Go support the brands that support shows like this one. drinkbloodofTyrants.com. Promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, will save you 10% off your order at the checkout. All right. We got a great show for you today. You know, I was pulling up my iPad to get the show ready, and I noticed it was updated to iPad version 1776. So that means it's going to be a good one. Oh, boy. That's my soap on my hand is what that smell is. I was wondering what that smell was on my hand. I just washed my hands. That Mia got this new soap that smells like the devil's asshole, evidently. But we got a lot to talk about. We're doing good take, bad take for you this week. We're going to talk a little bit about that lady that got caught on video flipping people off in Minnesota. But before we get into that, we got to talk about the Met Gala, which is going to be 90% of our show. We're going to go over outfits. And no, I'm kidding. We will not be talking about the place where the satanic pedophiles go to sacrifice babies to Satan and then drink their blood. I have no interest in doing that. It's a circle jerk. If you watched it, you're a fucking loser. If you followed anything to do with the Met Gala, you're a fucking loser. And I stand by that. We got a lot to talk about. So, if you've been living under a rock, I'm jealous of you. But if you've been living under a rock these last couple of days here, there was a woman in Minnesota who went viral because she took her kid down to the park. And another kid was stealing things out of her diaper bag for her kid. And the kid that was stealing it was a black kid who was autistic. I guess he was like 5 years old or something like that. I don't think they've confirmed the age. And she called him, this kid, the N-word. Not a numbskull, not a Neanderthal, not a Nimrod, not a nitwit, not a ninja. Although some people use ninja in place of that word. She called him the N-word. And she used the hard R when she did it. Well, this was caught on video. Well, it wasn't caught on video, but the aftermath was. And the aftermath showed this guy saying, hey, did you just call that kid so-and-so? Normally, I don't care about using words. I don't like to give him that type of power to where there's like one no-no word I won't say, for the record. But I'm trying to not get kicked off of YouTube right now. We get enough strikes as it is. We're actually trying to build the channel. So I normally don't give words that power, but there are specific words that if I say them, I will be booted off. So I'm self-censoring in the interest of profit. Yes, I'm a sellout. Fuck me. I get it. But she called, so she turns to the guy. She goes, you're damn right I did. I called him what he was acting like. And then she called the guy the N-word. The guy that was recording was a Somali migrant who was, this is all in Minneapolis, was accused of allegedly sex trafficking and raping a 16-year-old girl. And the charges were dropped in the interest of justice. Whatever that means. They were dropped. Listen, if you're a grown man from another country, you migrated to this country, and you're hanging around 16-year-old girls, I'm going to say something controversial here. I don't care if you raped her or not. We should just deport you for hanging out with 16-year-old girls. I think that's enough of a reason. If you would have come to this country, and when we were interviewing you to see if we wanted to accept you as a citizen, if we would have asked you, hey, when you're in your 20s and 30s, do you plan on hanging around 16-year-old girls? If you would have said yes, we would have said, no, thanks, we're not going to let you in. So I think if you come to this country and you do something, whether you become a citizen or not, if you do something that we otherwise would have refused to let you in the country for, I think we should just send you back to where you came from or wherever you want. We'll give you a one-way ticket. We don't care. But I think if you're a grown man who's not a citizen of this country and you're hanging out with teenage girls, we should just send you back to where you came from. Whether you did anything illegal or not, I just don't think you're someone who it's in the best interest of our society that you're here with us. So I think we should just send you back. But nonetheless, this isn't about him. That's just a side note from this. So here, I could do this one of two ways. I could race bait here, and I could bring on a whole panel like Piers Morgan, and we could all argue and yell at each other about this. It's basically just political smut. Or I could give you the real take on this. I'm not going to just argue for clicks. I'll tell you how I actually feel. This is white America's Karmelo Anthony. Because this woman went out and raised over $500,000 on Give, Send, Go, which is a free speech alternative to GoFundMe. So she went out, raised $500,000 for this after it went viral. And we didn't need to do this, guys. This is, let me make this clear. If you go on Twitter, if you go on YouTube, you're going to find a whole bunch of people defending what she did. They're going to talk about fatigue, your racial fatigue. They're going to talk about all the problems with black America, yada, yada, yada. You're going to find all these people that are going to go all over the internet because that drives clicks. It's controversial. It makes some money, right? So you're going to find people that are going to go out and they're going to push takes that they probably honestly don't even believe just to generate controversy. That's not how 99% of the country feels about this. That's what it's important to remember. This issue at the surface, and I'll break down kind of what it means long term in a second here, but at the surface, this issue, 99% of the country, whether they're black, whether they're white, whether they're Republicans, whether they're Democrats, Christian, atheist, Jew, gay, straight, male, female, doesn't matter, believes that calling a 5-year-old child, regardless of what he was doing, a racial slur is scumbag shit, right? 99% of the country believes that. Unfortunately, there's a very small yet vocal minority, 1% maybe less, that either wants to grift off of this or truly believes that this is acceptable. There's no way to paint this as acceptable, and I'll get called all kinds of names for saying that by these probably same 15 people that are out pushing this narrative. Let me make this clear. If you donated money on Give, Send, Go to her, or if you donated money to Karmelo Anthony's case, you're a retard. Bipartisan retardation. That's what that is. So this Give, Send, Go, because Karmelo Anthony raised over $500,000 as well. This Give, Send, Go has basically become the official scoreboard of racism in America. That's what it's become. And it's highlighted how many idiots there are on both sides. Regardless of your race, there are stupid people. It's like, who hates who more? Do black people hate white people more, or do white people hate black people more? Well, it's pretty even right now. They're in a dead heat. They keep, it's like a shootout at this point. They keep going back and forth to see who takes the lead. I think the whites might be leading, but you got to consider is white people make up a substantially higher percentage of the population. And if we're going to go off income, they also make more money per capita. So the fact that black people, despite being outnumbered and outgunned, were able to raise as much or almost as much money, I think the black people are actually winning on who's more racist in this country. Regardless, none of them are people that are going to be at my Memorial Day barbecue. That's the important thing to remember, is this is not America. This is a very ugly side. There's some nasty comments being left in that I think have been shut off now. There's a lot of fools that are taking some ridiculous stances on this, but the important thing to remember is that is not what America looks like. Like I said, I'm having a barbecue at my house on Memorial Day. We're going to have all kinds of people there from different political persuasions, races, religions. It's cool. None of us, well, we might argue a little bit. We might have some opinions on the NFL or whatever's going, or politics or whatever, but we're all going to be cool at the end of the day. No one's going to call anybody any racial slurs. We're all going to coexist because that is the majority of the country. That's truly what it's like. That's truly what it's like. So do not, if you take anything from this episode, do not allow yourself to be drawn in and manipulated into this racial bullshit. Whether you're a white person that's seeing all the Shiloh Hendrix takes or a black person that is seeing all the Karmelo Anthony idiocy going around, do not allow yourself to be drawn into this cycle of retardation here. That's the important thing you need to remember here. Now, I'm not saying that the woman couldn't stand up for herself and her kid. If there was a kid stealing, there's ways to deal with it. One of the ways to deal with it is by showing that you're more mature than a child and not allowing a child to bring you to that point where you're using racial slurs and profanity at a 5-year-old. That's a sign of low intelligence. If you can't deal with a 5-year-old properly and you have to resort to ethnic slurs and profanity and whatnot, a 5-year-old you don't even know, mind you, then that's a sign of low intelligence. That's a sign of a lack of social IQ. She's a fool. She's trash. She is. She's white trash. And it's a stereotype. And there's plenty of stereotypes that are donating to the Karmelo Anthony Fund as well on the other side of that coin. It's a stereotype, and it's the worst, ugliest stereotype there is. So here's what we got to realize, though. The floodgates are open. Why the floodgates are open, we'll get into it a little bit, why I think the floodgates have been open, because I don't know. I'm sure there are certainly some people that are donating money to both of these causes here. I don't know how much of the money donated is truly from a grassroots movement, though, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the floodgates are open because the reality of this situation is the timing in this Shiloh Hendrix story is everything. If the Karmelo Anthony fundraiser doesn't kick off the way it did, she probably doesn't even start her fundraiser. If she does, she might raise like $2 or $3 grand from a couple of idiots. But because Karmelo Anthony's case, and I can't call him a murderer because I'll get sued, because I put myself at risk of being sued because the case hasn't been closed yet. But Karmelo Anthony, let's be honest, case doesn't look that good. Doesn't look that good for him. Knife in a track meet, place he wasn't supposed to be, asked to leave, responds violently. I can't definitively call him a murderer for legal reasons, but that doesn't sound too good. So there were a lot of people that saw that and went, okay, it's on. And I mean, if you really want to go back to the root cause of it, I don't want to say racism was dead, but racism was pretty damn close to dead in this country in the 90s and in the early 2000s. I mean, yeah, there were racist idiots. There were always going to be. But the gaps that had been bridged by people like Michael Jordan, the Run DMC and Aerosmith song, by people like Will Smith on The Fresh Prince, Bill Cosby, an American icon. And then after 9/11, when we had this national unity thing, we just went over the top. So, I mean, you're looking early 2000s were probably the peak for race relations in this country. And then a guy named Barack Obama came along, and he didn't do anything drastic, but he just slowly fanned the flames and just kind of inched us away. Just inched us away from that. It's like erosion on a rock. Right? The race relations in this country were a rock, and they just got rained on perpetually for about 8 years, and it did some damage to the rock, and it wasn't as strong and full as it once was. And that rainstorm was none other than former President Barack Obama. So Barack Obama really kicked this off. And when you look at the Cloward Piven strategy and, their idea to divide America, what better hot button issue to do it than with race? So if this Karmelo Anthony fundraiser didn't kick off the way it did, this Shiloh Hendrix thing doesn't happen. Not to this degree. Because that's the reality is, I'm not going to say no one. The majority of the people that donated to Karmelo Anthony in his fundraiser, let's be honest, guys, didn't give a damn if he really defended himself. You know how I know that? Because Luigi Mangione, a couple weeks prior to that, or I guess a couple months prior to that, shot a guy in the back of the head in cold blood and raised over $1 million. When people donate to these Give, Send, Go fundraisers, when someone gets killed, more often than not, they're not doing it because of who the perpetrator was, or the person you're raising the money for. They're doing it because of who the victim was, because the victim was someone they didn't like, and deep down in their soul, they enjoy that violence because it's something they themselves are not capable of doing. They're watching someone else do it in real time, and they get a kick out of that. It's like watching a professional football player. You're not going to go out and throw yourself in front of a 300-pound monster to get steamrolled, but you'll give that guy your money when you buy the tickets and you watch it on TV and you buy the merchandise and whatever, because you enjoy that. And deep down, you kind of wish you could do that too. So that's really what this is about here. He could have shot Austin Metcalf in the back of the head as he ran away and still raised almost as much money as he did here. Because this wasn't about whether or not it was self-defense. This wasn't about someone getting railroaded by the legal system. To the majority of the people that donated to Karmelo Anthony, it was about hating whites. And to the majority of the people that donated to Shiloh Hendrix, it was about hating black people. That's all there is to it. But here's the thing. If you're defending Karmelo Anthony, or God forbid you were stupid enough to donate to him because you know a fool and his money are easily parted, you don't really get upset about the other side's tribalism. You started this. And if you donated to Shiloh Hendrix, I don't want to hear you use the words Karmelo Anthony or Austin Metcalf ever again, because you're part of the problem now. Like that's the double standard that we see in the media, is people are condemning the folks that are donating to Shiloh Hendrix, as they should be. But I haven't seen one peep out of these people when it comes to the folks donating to Karmelo Anthony's fundraiser. They're both bad. In fact, and hear me out here, one might even be able to argue that killing someone is actually worse than calling someone a no-no word. You might be able to make that case. I love I'm going to piss everyone off with this. The silent majority that listens to this show, tunes in 2-3 times a week, doesn't comment, just listens to it. Maybe they tell their friends about it. That's any show. The silent majority that listens to this show, they agree with me. The loud idiots that leave comments and thumbs downs or whatever they're called now, and negative reviews, they're the ones who will make their voices heard on this. They're the ones who will call me a cuck or a racist or whatever. Because to the far right, I'm selling out to the left and I'm a cuck. But to the far left, I'm a racist. That's by making this argument, this reasonable argument that 99% of the population agrees with, by the way. On the flip side, though, on the grand scheme of things, the way she's raised money, I would be lying, not that the fact that she's raised money, but I would be lying if I told you that I didn't get a little bit of a chuckle about this, because it appears to be the end of cancel culture. The end of cancel culture. Do you remember back in the BLM days where companies were being like boycotted if they didn't put a black square on their Instagram account? Or Lunchables didn't change their Facebook profile picture to a black square. I better feed my kids some other poison now. Like, people would get fired from their jobs, lose employment for having a nuanced take back during the riots in 2020. And they'd say, oh, those are just the consequences. Like, if you came out and said, hey, I think what happened to George Floyd was as bad as the next guy, but maybe it's not worth burning a Starbucks to the ground. You'd be called like a white supremacist. I'm not even exaggerating here. Like, I know it sounds like to some of you that might have tuned that year out, and I don't blame you for it at all if you did. It might seem like, okay, he's being a little exaggerative here. I'm not. People got their lives ruined for saying for benign takes like that. And these idiot activists that sit on the internet and don't actually do anything, they go, well, that's just the consequences. Those are just the consequences. Free speech comes with consequences. Hold on, guys. A dumb joke or a meme somebody shared should not cost them their ability to feed their family. Let's weigh the, that's one of the Newton's laws. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, which you could argue this Shiloh Hendrix fundraiser is for the Karmelo Anthony thing. But if somebody posts a meme on Facebook that's maybe a little racist, what's an equal consequence for that? I don't know. Maybe they get put on Facebook probation for a couple of days, right? They didn't really do any harm. A couple people might have saw that and went, oh, that was in poor taste. So I think the equal and opposite reaction is maybe they get like a strike on their Facebook. Like, hey, we're going to algorithm you down for a couple of days here. Maybe not even a suspension if they post something bad. Not like a joke, but like a bad take. Nobody got hurt by that. An unequal and opposite reaction is to take away their ability to feed their family and make them homeless because they said something you didn't like. That's like if some kid's shooting a BB gun at you and you call it an airstrike and carpet bomb the whole neighborhood, kill his whole family. I guess the U.S. government does that. Bad example. But you see what I'm saying, right? How much of an overreaction that is? It's like if there's a spider in my house, so I just burned it to the ground. It'd be the same thing. So I'd be lying if I didn't tell you, or if I told you that I didn't kind of get a kick out of it. An odd sense of joy, not from the fact that she's being rewarded, she doesn't deserve to be, but from the fact that it's kind of like, okay, cancel culture's over now. The days of you ruining people's lives and everybody being scared for much less than what Shiloh Hendrix did, by the way, much less, and everybody being scared of it, those days are over. People don't have to look over their shoulders constantly. For what they've said or what they've done. You don't have to worry about something like what's the zombified by falling in reverse. They'll never let go of something you said 10 years ago. They're canceling you. You don't have to worry about something, that tweet from 2016 that you had. Those days are done. But I did warn you guys. I came on the air and warned you 3 years ago. Got to be pretty close to the date at this point. 2.5 years ago, I guess. I came on the air and warned you that pendulums swing, and every time they swing, we overcorrect because the natural human instinct is to fight fire with fire. And that's exactly what happened. This is an overcorrection to the woke shit. I don't think people should have their lives ruined because of one bad moment. But I also don't think they should be rewarded for bad behavior. Bad behavior should be corrected appropriately, and we should allow that person the opportunity for redemption. That's the middle ground, and we refuse to find it. It's either we ruin their lives or we make them a millionaire, and there's no in between. I warned you that the pendulum was going to swing hard to the right. They said, yeah, I came on and I told you. This crazy woke shit, the trans kids and everything, it's coming to its peak. The pendulum's going to swing back. And we're not going to like that either, the majority of us in this country. And that's what's happening. You're watching it in real time. Guess what? Another one of my predictions came true.
I'm the Messiah.
There's just too many stupid, tribalistic, extremist people, and we certainly did not help matters when we locked them all in their homes away on the darkest corners of the internet for a year. Back in 2020, Trump said he's going to reopen Gitmo. I think Dr. Fauci should be the first one there. Because that's the thing. And that's the big difference between a religion and a cult, is religions believe in redemption. The woke cult They have a lot of similar aspects to religions, but the one they lack is redemption. They think that you mess up once, no matter how long ago it was, you're incapable of being a different person now than you were 10 years ago, and you're incapable of being a different person 10 years from today than you are right now. So they ruin you. They toss you to the side like trash until they've entirely consumed themselves. That's part of what's happened with the woke movement. That's why you're seeing the pendulum swing back as hard as you are. Because they ate so many of their own. They don't have enough people left to keep in the fight. So many of them have either defected to the right, because like Lindy Lee, because they got sick of it, or they just bowed out. Like, never mind, I'll be quiet. You told me you didn't want to hear from me anymore. So they either defected to the other team, or they're on the sideline now. But that's the thing. Even with this Shiloh Hendrix and Karmelo Anthony, both of them not people I'm particularly fond of. I believe both of them are capable of redemption. As a Christian, I have to. I have to. Now, that doesn't mean that they should be rewarded for their behavior, though. There's a difference between somebody being capable of redemption and actively rewarding that person for a bad decision. You know, if you go into confession at church and you tell the priest, you say, man, Father, I really fucked up. Well, what'd you do? You know, I walked out on the bill at Applebee's. You know, I was sexting women that aren't my wife. I was doing all these. I robbed a bank. I was doing all these horrible things. That priest will tell you, he'll give you a penance and he'll tell you to do it and, you know, whatever else you got to do. And so you're forgiven. If you do those things and you truly feel bad about it and strive to not do those things again. What he won't do is give you $500,000 because you don't deserve it. You did something stupid. You did something bad. We don't reward bad behavior, but we also don't just tell people they're done because they did it. If they continue to do it over and over and over again, well, that's going to be between them and God. But we can't just take people's worst moments and let that define them forever and not give them any chance at redemption. Because here's the thing, guys. If you push people like her underground, would you try to fight fire with nuclear weapons? When you try to take someone who said something horrific and racist on camera, and there's no denying that, and you ruin their lives, and you relentlessly go after them, and you never give them a moment to breathe, you never give them an opportunity to redeem themselves, do you know what happens? You push that person further underground, and then at that point, the only people who are willing to even hear them out become people who are more extreme than they were. And they get pushed to the darkest corners of political ideology. They develop antisocial tendencies, and then God knows what happens. You make them more extreme than they were before the incident. You make them more racist, more whatever they were, more prone to violence before the incident. Canceling someone and ruining their life forever, saying you're done for good. We're done because of one bad moment. Or even a bunch of bad moments, without giving them a chance to redeem themselves, not saying you reward it, but without giving them a chance to redeem themselves, does not solve the problem. It pushes people into echo chambers and makes them even more extreme. And that's the thing. I see these so-called Christians who throw the Bible around because they think charity means redistributing wealth at the barrel of a gun. They forget the redemption part of Christianity, these left-wing Christians. Episcopalians. Ugh. They forget that part. Hey, if you have to give people a chance to redeem themselves. Not saying you got to hang around them, but there's a difference between someone learning their lesson and just repeatedly kicking them when they're down. Now, let's get into the fundraising element of this, because I've talked about the incident itself. I've talked about the larger scale of it. I've talked about the social and religious aspect of it. Let's talk about where this money's coming from. It's no secret that a lot of people in the world don't like us, right? Especially after the last 4 years with the dementia administration. That's no secret. As we know, regardless of who the president is, there are 2 or 3 particular countries named Russia, China, and Iran that have some decent intelligence agencies. Some of them have been trained by us, by the way. So you've paid for a lot of this crap. That have it out for us. You had an incident about a decade ago, maybe a little bit less, where you had, in Texas, you had a Burn a Koran rally right across the street from a rally for Sharia law. So you got extremists from both sides right next to each other. A lot of them were armed in an open carry state like Texas. They were trying to set off a powder keg. Turned out it was the Russians that set both of those protests up. Russian bots on Facebook circulated the events, set both of them up, trying to kick something up. I don't think it's unreasonable when you've got an issue. Name an issue that's more hot button than race. Name an issue in this country that's more hot button than race. It's more likely to set a whole bunch of people off and turn them against each other than race. I wonder if this Give, Send, Go website, if they can see where this money's coming from. Because I would be interested to see if this was coming from not only foreign bank accounts or foreign proxy bank accounts through Russia or China or Iran or whoever. I would be interested to see if this money was coming, and I don't know if there's a way to check, but I'm just asking. I would be interested to see if this money was coming from maybe some of the NGOs that USAID identified as blatantly politically biased. Maybe from CIA intelligence assets, deep state assets, whatever, insert alphabet agency here. Because as, you know, I come on here and yell ad nauseum till I'm blue in the face about the Cloward Piven strategy, the idea to overwhelm America's institutions, destabilize the country, destroy it, and then rebuild it in whatever bullshit dream they have, or bullshit ideal they have. I don't think it's out of the question to say that we know for a fact there are parties, both externally and internally, trying to burn this country to the ground. How unreasonable is it to say that, hey, maybe they're the ones donating to this? Not all of them, obviously. I think there are just a percentage of stupid people on both sides in this country. But if I were going to try to rile people up and stoke the flames of division in this country, that's what I would do. I would fund both sides of a really stupid conflict. Just get people aggravated. Go blow for blow. Just fuck with them a little bit. I wonder how many of these bots that are leaving comments or I wonder how many of these anonymous accounts that are leaving comments and, you know, supporting both Hendrix and Anthony, how many of them are actually based in the United States? And the ones that are, how many of them are run by spooks? Those are the questions we should be asking. Not pissing our pants about race relations. Hey, dumbass. There are criminal entities within our own country that hate you, regardless of your skin color. They hate us. They want to destabilize the country. They want to destroy the family unit. They've laid this out. They did it in the black community. The CIA got caught trafficking heroin into inner cities. They got all the men hooked on drugs or selling drugs, so they were either in rehab or jail or dead. And then they told the moms, don't go find a new man. Here's welfare. Here you go. Welfare replaces the man. You're going to lose your benefits if you go find a new man. And then they turned around to the white community and they said, hey, confused kids that are addicted. Here's a phone. Get addicted to it. By the way, there's 13 genders. Pick one. And if your parents disagree, they're bigots. Fuck your parents. And they turn them away against their parents the same way they did Mao. They've attacked both races differently, and they're coming after Hispanics next because that's the real strong conservative Catholic family unit. People don't realize the black family, prior to the CIA absolutely obliterating that community in this country, the African Americans, their divorce rate was lower than whites. It was lower than Hispanics currently. The black family was one of the most tight-knit units in the country prior to the Cloward Piven strategy kicking in and them destabilizing that entire sector of the country. Now they're on to white people and Hispanics are next. They're almost done with white people. They told all the women to go be boss bitches. Leave your husband behind. Focus on a career till you're 39 and you're barren. They turned the kids against the parents with just woke garbage. 2 different strategies. Both of them worked. So stop fighting each other over this crap. It doesn't matter. Karmelo Anthony, Shiloh Hendrix, scumbags. I hope they turn their lives around. I'm not going to bank on it, though. Let's focus on the fact that you've got criminal elements within this country that fucking hate all of us. They want us to be slaves. Mindless worker drones. You'll own nothing and you'll like it. The staple market, the World Economic Forum, that has a direct influence in how this country's run. When they said you'll own nothing and you'll like it, they didn't have a little asterisk on the end that said, unless you're black or unless you're white. No, they just said, fuck everyone that's not part of our elite class. Fuck the degenerate slave scum, because that's how they see us. They see us as a cancer. We've read the Georgia Guidestones off. You know how they see us. They're trying to depopulate the earth. They're trying to track every fucking thing you do. They're trying to disarm you. They're trying to put us into these 15-minute city hellholes and make it so none of us can own property. They're trying to turn your children against you. They're trying to turn your wives and husbands against you. And you're sitting here worried about some punk kid and some fucking trailer park trash single mom. Fuck both of them. This is an astroturfed campaign to divide us. Because when they do that, we can't focus on the fact that they basically just admitted they don't have the Epstein files because they were destroyed. And all of those billionaire pedophiles and political elites that raped young girls are going to walk spot-free. Nothing's ever going to happen to them in this life. We don't focus on that. We're going to fight over a high school track meet and some retard at a playground. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant. And that's what we're going to spend our money on. We're going to donate our money to that crap rather than putting it in our IRA and securing our retirement, rather than putting it toward a down payment so we can actually own property someday, rather than putting it toward our kids' college funds. We're going to donate money to idiots. Because we've all been riled up and tribalized. That just fucking makes me fucking sick, dude. Ah! That's how I feel right now. All right, let's do good take, bad take. Let's do a little good take, bad take, where we rate some of the best and worst takes that we saw on the internet. We try to do this the first Wednesday of every month. We didn't do it last month because we had all the mayoral drama. By the way, 6 days away, next Tuesday, write me in for mayor, Caleb Salvatore with an E. If you are in the Omaha area, don't vote for Jean Stothert and her lies and establishment hackery. Don't vote for John Ewing and his woke garbage. Write in Caleb Salvatore. I'm the only person that'll end the streetcar. I'm the only person that doesn't believe in killing babies. I'm the only person that won't go pander to the drag queen freak shows. Write Caleb Salvatore in for mayor if you're in Omaha on Tuesday, May 13th. We're going to stick it to the establishment. There's no chance in hell I win. Although it would be kind of funny to run this show from the mayor's office. The city's burning to the ground, and I'm just running my show. I would have fun with that. But let's get into good take, bad take, where we found some of the best and worst takes on the internet over the last month, and we break them down for you right here, raw and live. Okay, let's go to the first one. This is about, Warren Buffett, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, at the Berkshire meeting in Omaha, announced his retirement over the last week. And none other than, this first take here is by yours truly. It's by me. Said, breaking news on KETV, says, breaking news, Warren Buffett announces retirement. And then you see right below that, Caleb Salvatore. What a coward. I think it goes without saying that this was an excellent take. Warren Buffett's 94 years old. He's got at least another 10 years he can run that company. This is very irresponsible of him. He saw a little bit of turmoil in the market, turn tail and run. Not even the worst dip in the stock market we've had in the last year. Not even the worst. He tucked his tail and ran like a little pussy. Warren Buffett is a biatch. What a disgrace Warren Buffett is. Absolute loser. Never accomplished anything in his life. Worthless, good for nothing, low life Warren Buffett. Coward. That's a good take. Take number one's a good take. Take number two. Take number two comes from, we'll say her name. So these local comedians in Omaha, they like to every now and then, I think I figured out what they're doing because they keep getting upset about things I said like years ago. So they like to search their names in Apple Podcasts to see if anyone's talking about them. And because Apple Podcasts brings like a transcript up, right? And I think they're mainly just looking to see if I talk shit about them, which I rarely do. I was feuding with the mayor a month ago. I don't care about you people, right? But I got one sent in to me from a friend of the show. We'll just leave it at that. Sent this one in. It's from, let's say her name so she can spurg out about this on Facebook in a couple of weeks. Sam Hatfield. She's a comedian. I don't know. Omaha, Lincoln. I don't know. It's all fucking the same anyway. She posted this on her Facebook. It's a graphic. It says it's about the R word campaign. Stop using the R word. What you can do. Stop and think. Stop saying the word retard and retarded. Ask others not to use the word retard and retarded. Promote tolerance. Become a part of a community to promote inclusion. What if we want to include people who use the word retard? Then she says on the caption, stop using the R word. It makes you sound like a trashy, ignorant person.
I'm kind of retarded.
So maybe you're saying that, would you say that someone using the R word, Sam, might actually make them sound a little retarded? Is that what you're saying?
I notice your kids both look retarded.
We're just going to use all the retard sound.
Your kids look like retards.
Look, I mean, here's my thing. This is a bad take. This is a bad take. I want to make this clear. If you use the word retarded to describe a handicapped person, you're a fucking asshole. I would never do that. The same way I would never call a gay guy a fag unless he was acting like one. Right? Michael Scott said it best. You call your friends retards when they're acting retarded. Or we just call the people we disagree with politically that. Listen, it's made a comeback. You guys lost this one. It's a symbol of the great cultural shift and the losses you've taken in the culture war. I remember when that was the big no-no word. Now I can't go 3 seconds without saying it. That was the one.
I'm kind of retarded.
By the way, when I hit, before they spurg out about this sound effect.
Your kids look like retards.
I'm not insulting. I don't even know if she has a kid. If she has a kid, I'm not insulting her kid. So don't even start with that. It's just a fun little sound effect we play on the show. You don't have to like it.
I notice your kids both look retarded.
So was that one. I'm not attacking anyone's kid. Mia and I laugh at those sound effects all the time because we think it's a funny video. So before they spurg out on me about that, that's not what we're doing. Okay, let's go to the next segment here. What's the third take? From Amy Nixon on Twitter, she shows Gen Alpha, which I don't even know what Gen Alpha is, a young generation. Job aspirations should terrify all. So it's the top 10 job aspirations for Gen Alpha. And they got some good ones on here. She says Gen Alpha job aspirations should terrify all. Don't see a single pie slice with factory worker either. Well, let's consider Gen Alpha are like 14 years old, first off. People in Gen Alpha aren't exactly at that age where they're like, all right, well, I guess this is what I want to be. So Gen Alpha, 32% want to be YouTubers, 21% want to be TikTok creators, 20% want to be doctors and nurses, 19% want to be mobile app video game developers, 17% want to be entrepreneurs, 16 artists, 15 athlete, 15 streamer, 14 musician, 14 teacher. We're going to call this one a bad take. We're going to call this one a bad take because when you consider the age demographic, how many kids at 14 are sitting there going, I can't wait to work in the glue factory. You know what I want to do? I want to debone hams that come in for Tyson Foods and ship them off to the grocery stores. That's what I want to do when I grow. The people that are working those jobs now don't even want to do that. Now, I've criticized people for saying they want to be influencers. I think that's a whole other thing. But I don't have a problem if people are saying they don't want to be factory workers. Look, yeah, you should if you're 16, or excuse me, like 14, 12 years old, whatever the case may be, and you don't want to be a pro athlete or you don't want to be, some crazy fun career like that, I'm kind of worried about you. Like if a kid says, yeah, I want to be a factory worker when I grow up, I'm worried that kid's going to shoot up his school at any given moment. That's my chief concern right now. When's that fire alarm going to get pulled so we can sit on the roof and snipe people as they run out? That's my primary concern if a kid says he wants to be a factory worker. Bad take. I think Miss Nixon and I probably agree politically more than we disagree on a lot of the issues. But I'm going to call that one a bad take. We got to call out our own side here. Take number 4 comes from none other than the President of the United States. He says the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. It's a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I'm authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. So here's the problem with that. I don't disagree with all of what he said. We are going to call it a bad take, though. Sorry, Donald.
Wrong.
You can't. Number one, I'm concerned about just labeling everything we don't like as a national security threat. Number one, you get boy who cried wolf syndrome. Number two, it opens the door for some abuses of power later on. What I will say, though, is requiring these movies be made in America will cripple the movie business. You've already got the theaters that are on life support and actually kind of making a little bit of a comeback. The theaters are... I'm pre-taping on a Tuesday night, by the way. I am not drinking Coors Light at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. But the movie theaters are kind of making a comeback, right? I'm starting, we go to the movie and we actually see other people there. We're not those weirdos that are sitting in the theater wondering how this isn't just some giant money laundering scam. So the movie theaters are kind of making a comeback, but they're still on life support. But there's some movement of the eyes underneath the eyelids there. So it ain't over yet. Rocky's getting up on the ropes. This kills every movie theater in the country. Peter Jackson's King Kong, perfect example. I think they made that in 04, 05? That movie was shot in New Zealand because it was cheaper to remake New Zealand as New York City than it was to use New York City to shoot. It is too expensive to shoot in America, specifically in areas of high demand, like New York, like LA, blah, 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 because you got to get the permits. And the taxes make it so expensive. We have bigger fish to fry, believe it or not, with the ongoing war in Ukraine, with the trade concerns, with the president, I think we're getting screwed on trade. With the Gaza problems going on over there, with a lot of the corruption that's deeply rooted into our own country and our institutions here. We have a lot bigger fish to fry, one might make the argument, than movies that are made in other countries. I think that is a little absurd. And we're playing with fire here. So, bad take, President Trump. Bad take. All right, last one. This is from Dystopian GF on Twitter. Ray. She says, Gen Z's aversion to sex and alcohol is not Puritanism. It's two things, a retreat away from real life into the internet and a sixth sense that tells them that the free hedonic times are coming to an end. Older generations are nearly incapable of sensing this. And this is something I've noticed, and she put it into words in a way I couldn't, because I've always wondered how to, like, I've noticed this, and it bothers me, and I don't know why it bothers me. But Gen Z engages in premarital sex and underage drinking and drugs, recreational drinking and drugs, not the shit the scam artist therapists have them popping. That's a whole other story. Drinking at parties, stuff like that, at a far lower rate than any generation alive did at their age. And I didn't know, like, you'd think on paper when you hear that, great. The kids they're fucking less. There'll be less wedlock babies. They're waiting till marriage. That's good morals. They're not drinking as much. They're not going to, get all these substance abuse issues and ruin their lives making one stupid mistake out partying. But something felt off about it. Like it was almost concerning that they weren't going out getting drunk, that they weren't going out having premarital sex. And I couldn't put my finger on why. But this girl figured it out right here. She did. These kids are not abstaining from these activities out of some sense of moral high ground, out of some revelation where they're like, oh my God, that's horrible. My parents did that. Their parents did that. I shouldn't do that. They made mistakes. That's not how teenagers' brains are wired. They're doing this because they're becoming antisocial. They're replacing the bad behavior with worse behaviors. Rather than going out and partying and socializing, they're sitting in their rooms with their phones. And you know what I always say? The devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. We know what the long-term effects of kids being stupid and committing acts of debauchery in their teen years is, right? Because we all did it. All our parents did it. Their parents did it. We don't know the long-term effects of kids, of an entire generation almost, checking out and going, I think I'm just going to rot in bed this weekend. And doing that every weekend throughout their entire teenage years. Now, there's always going to be kids like that, but not entire generations. That's the difference. So they didn't have some come to Jesus moment where they realized they were going to be the pure generation that leads us to the promised land. No, it's something darker. They're not doing this because they don't know how to socialize, because many of them were robbed of their formative years during the COVID hoax. That's where the issue lies. They don't know how to do these things. They don't know how to put themselves in social situations. They're addicted to something. Well, that's the thing, is if you're out partying and like you're not an addict at that age, right? But they've become addicted to something. They're doom scrolling on TikTok. They're not communicating with people. They're not socializing. They're not building relationships and friends. And when we talk about how we're in a population crisis right now with people not having enough babies, wait until this generation that was raised not knowing how to socialize in Gen Z starts hitting their mid to late 20s, early 30s, when most people start settling down having kids. They're not going to know what to do. And politically, they're more conservative. It's such an enigma. That's usually behavior that's consistent with liberals. I think the conservative ones aren't as bad as the liberal ones, of course, with this. I think it applies more to them at a higher percentage, though. But like the liberal, even like millennials and Gen X, the liberals, they went out and they partied and they met people. But you got these people that are not dating, and they didn't spend any of their formative years even talking to the opposite sex. That's going to translate inevitably to people who aren't getting married and people who aren't having children. And we're going to be in a lot of trouble when an entire generation decides, we're just not going to have kids. We're checking out. Maybe they're not even deciding. They're just so awkward. They don't know how to get laid. And us, the millennials, younger Gen Xers that are listening to this show, Social Security is basically the younger generation propping the next one or two up. Or 2 generations away getting propped up. So if you're a Gen Xer, or you're a younger Gen Xer, I guess, or you're a millennial, these Gen Z kids are not having enough babies to prop us up. So you want to talk, they like to fearmonger around Social Security. That's a big Social Security thing right there. Are we going to have Social Security by the time that folks that are my age and a little bit older start retiring? You better start saving up. Pay your student loans off, as we talked about last Wednesday, and start saving up. Because I'm not going to pay for your shit. Okay? And I know your kids aren't going to be able to.
I notice your kids both look retarded.
Anyway, that's been our show. We'll see you guys on Saturday for the big show. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.